We all have unfair experiences that leaves us with scars. Mine happened to be a fire. At 6:46 p.m. on a Saturday of May 23, 2012, I was 11. My cousins and I were preparing to be backup dancers at a local festival just off the coast of Lapu-Lapu City. When suddenly, the entire barrio went dark, and I had the urge to answer the call of nature. Your girl's gotta pee. I didn't have a phone, I didn't have a flashlight, so we opted up for a candle. And my little cousin volunteered to be with me. And so off we went to an adventure we didn't know it was. Halfway through finishing my business up, a loud bang followed by a split second of a light so bright I couldn't believe my eyes happened. And the next thing I knew was we were on fire. Everything was on fire. We tried to look for ways to alleviate the pain. I saw a bucket of water on the far left corner of the toilet, dipped my head in it in hopes that when I resurface, I would wake up. Because this is just a dream, right? Just a really bad dream, right? But it wasn't. We were still there, and we were still burning. We miraculously got out, and as we went out to seek refuge from the outside world, I stopped, looked at myself in the mirror, a hazy image of myself, with only a little light from the moon coming from a small speck in the window illuminating myself. And I asked, what will my life be after this? Who will I be after this? Don't worry, this is not a story of adversity. My purpose today is to invite transcendence of worldly events, challenges, setbacks, even wins and successes, the narratives we create around it, and the consequential societal, familial, and individually imposed limitations. Breaking the victim mindset. Quick aside, transcendence, in my experience, is not synonymous to bypassing. Quite the contrary. The opposite seems to be true. Transcendence is a process of going through. While I did not wake up from the dream I thought the fire was, I did wake up from the conditionings of society, the labels I've had about my scars, or what it means to go through something and be changed radically and all dimensionally. That night began my formal relationship with haggling, negotiating with the life before me. We were in the hospital for 3 months, underwent 9 operations under general anesthesia. And on the 9th operation, the doctor said, they can't undergo general anesthesia operations anymore because they might not wake up. So they did the operations while we were awake. Painful is an understatement to live peeling off of my bandages sessions. The initial rounds of that was made in a controlled environment, in a whirlpool session with a medicinal liquid of sorts. I remember we were coming down from my room down to the whirlpool area, and we were going down when the foot traffic was heavy. And I heard them. People's gasps, shocked whispers, and worse, pity, as they see me traverse covered with bandages, red like meat my mom buys from the supermarket. But I pretend I didn't. When the whirlpool sessions weren't working anymore, the doctor said, this is out of our control now. How about we let Mother Nature take the course? Submerge her in the ocean. These inauspicious days of being subjected to things out of my control, the fire, the ocean, paved waves of emotions, anger, resentment, guilt, and confusion. while the ocean does its job with my wounds, I asked my mom, Ma, why me? To which she replied, Inday, why not? And I thought to myself, if only I had magic, if only I had powers to heal myself. When we were going home from my usual outpatient physical therapy sessions, passing through the streets with non-tinted car windows, I saw a kid walking home from school. And I thought to myself, that will be me one day. I'll go to school, walk myself home. The kid got a glimpse of me. I smiled, but she returned it with a gasp. Her face laden with horror, like the ghosts from the films she had watched before coming to life. But I pretend I didn't see or get that interaction. Those mere moments of hushed whispers, shocked gasps, pity, packed all the internalization of what it means to be a victim for 11-year-old me. So I hid. I hid behind masks and cardigans. If people don't see my scars, they won't define me with it. The clothes, they can have reactions about that. I can even elaborate a story about why I wear those clothes. Or I can just give an assumption, but not the scars. They won't give out shocked whispers. They won't go on pitying. This introduced me. This process initiated my first look into how one event can have multiple narratives. My being covered with scars paved way for insurmountable assumptions. My personal favorites, baka K-pop fan yan. BTS, who's a member. Or when I go to school and kids go, she's... And another would reply, no, I don't think she's a nurse, she's a doctor. Meanwhile, I also got to explore other myself, an expansion of identity by focusing on everything that has nothing to do with the fire, other than the fire. I strived to excel as a student, created films, directing, talking, taking up leadership roles, and photography. My personal favorite expansion is going to the gym. A desirable difficulty, they say. A deliberate practice, despite it being strenuous, because I know I'll be transformed after. In my quest to expand my identity, I joined an environmental camp. And Ace, the vice chairperson, while we were in the campfire, told everyone while we were sharing stories about our lives, I want to be what Lara is. I want to have what Lara is, just without the scars and without the pain of the fire. Although the fire is not something I deliberately went through, like going to the gym, Ace believes it has a desirable outcome. While I did not choose to go through the fire, I get to choose to think of it as a desirable difficulty that the universe has put in my stead so I can be transformed and have wisdom and light only I get to have the experience of having and sharing. The mask and cardigan era was good while it lasted, but I could no longer reject that I have scars and reject myself. I realized that hiding from the world meant me hiding from myself. So on my 7th accident anniversary, on May 23, 2012, I went back to the place where the accident happened and did exactly the same things I did. I went inside the toilet, did my business, got out, looked at myself in the mirror with a clear, glimmering image of myself before me, with the light from the sun illuminating myself. And instead of questions, I got my answers. Who will I be? What will my life be? A victor. While I did not realize it then and there, in that moment, more than the answers to my questions, is the dawning understanding of the power on who gets to answer the questions, over who gets to describe what I see in the mirror, over who gets to describe what happened and what it means, which is me. And as if a signal to the universe, when I started owning the direction of my narrative, a series of redefining interactions came after, and the world followed suit. Take meeting Miss Ibona, whose curiosity empowered me to hold myself accountable. We were practicing for an oratorical competition back in my senior high school, and the main rule was for people to see my face. I was still wearing my mask, and she said, "Lara, I won't ask you to take your mask off, but I am curious, why haven't you after all these years?" And I answered, "Of course, because when people see me, they would like me, or they would think I'm unpresentable. When you fly domestic." To which she replied, "How did you get to that?" And I said, "Because I assumed when after check-in." Exactly. You assumed. It made me realize that the things I thought of myself were the things, well, lounge acting. The things I thought other people thought of me were the things I thought of myself, and I had to make it an empowering one. Or meeting Brian, whose kindness allowed me to redefine what it means to have scars. We're having a conversation about skincare, and I was like, "Oh, scars, what do you mean skincare?" So she replied, "Oh, but you're more than a face. Your scars offer some peculiarity. She says a story and reveals it one at that cloud. Or meeting nice Sandra empowered me to accept myself with unconditional positive regard. She was the first stranger ever who I showed my scar to knowing. And I was preparing for a shot with her or face laden with horror. But I was met with, okay, that's what you look like? It's not a big deal as you think it is." I was met with nonchalance. Or meeting Gabula, whose empathy validated the path I'm on, and celebrating the favorable and unfavorable parts of being human. Living with my mom, whose grit and resilience empower me to find solutions and go past victimhood. What is this teaching you? What is your role in this situation, and how can you move forward and go live your life? These interactions packed all the empowerment I needed to debunk the disempowering ones I've internalized. Having these polarities of perspectives allowed me to get the gist of it being arbitrary. Perspective, I have learned, as introduced by B.J. Miller, is the alchemy we humans get to play with. And it is a matter of choosing and creating favorable and empowering ones. But it doesn't have to come from others solely. We can and we should give it to ourselves. Because more than sourcing empowerment from others, it's us we need the empowerment from. How? By consuming what you want to become. To me, this came in the form of watching Matilda. Who knows Matilda? She held me accountable that just because I find myself in this story doesn't mean that everything is written for me. And nobody but me is going to change my story. Or learning about Stoicism helped me become someone who defines her fears, overcome them, and redefine them. Vicarious learning, seeing someone overcome her fire and model her scars on Instagram made me want to model hers and become someone who overcame. Or reading books helped me become someone who sees possibilities in the world and think that however many detours, roadblocks, or curveballs life throws, we can always begin again. Listening to Cynthia Erivo's I'm Here song rendition helped me become someone who thinks and embodies having everything inside her to live a bountiful life, living in gratitude for the good and the bad, because I'm here, and that's beautiful. At 2 a.m. on October 2019, it was chilly, and I remember the wind blowing from my right hand side. I went up to our roof and sat in my favorite corner. On the far left side, I looked up, closed my eyes, and took a deep breath and said, hey, I've done everything I could. I've been blessed with the best people ever manufactured on earth to be with me. I've done my share of empowering myself in consuming things I want to become, but I'd be lying if I said I'm okay. When I look at myself in the mirror, I still wish for it to be gone. I still get a pang of hurt in my heart. Please give me a heart that can accept what I can't change. When I opened my eyes, I saw the moon and the stars above me shining so bright. And at that moment, something out of my control happened. A wave of gratitude. Because I exist. And in that moment, it was all that mattered. It took me a while, but I eventually did accept. This acceptance led to the transcendence of worldly standards, societal narratives, and the narratives you create around them, and the consequential societal, familial, and individually imposed limitations and identities that are births. Which led me to 3 fundamental principles. First, I am more than blank. The scars, I am more than that. What happened to me, I am more than that. My current interpretations about it, life, love, worth, value, I am more than that. My work, my income, socioeconomic status, my gender, I am more than that. We are more than that. Second, people and experiences have an essence. Good, bad, favorable, or unfavorable. Go past their forms and into the substance. Third, my worth, my beauty, and my identity are elusive and omnipresent. That is, regardless of external manifestations or internal processes, I am worthy, valued, loved, and beautiful. Sure, there are unfair experiences that leave us with scars. But when viewed through the perspective we choose to have, these very experiences become unfair advantages. And I say they are. And they leave us with wisdom, realizations, and transformation only you get to have the privilege of having. But we need to choose, and choose fervently, to see what our eyes can't, and go beyond what our minds have been accustomed to, so we may find the light in whatever it is that we have the privilege of experiencing, and share it with the world when we do. Parts of me got engulfed in flames early on, and that's something we can all say one way or another. We may not have the same fires, nor will we come up with the same realizations, but we all have the alchemy of perspective to see these remnants not as ashes, but as pixie dusts, vital to becoming phoenixes who illuminate the world. Victim? We're not. We're victors.